Kirkegaard is a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. He says the relationship between the U.S. and France have come a long ways in just a few years.
No, I think we have vastly improved from the Bush years and freedom fries and all that. So we're sort of back to the historical strong relationship. And I think, ironically, there's two main reasons for it. One is that for a French socialist president, François Hollande is actually quite free trade. Historically, this has been, the French left wing has been a key sort of opponent of free trade, and he's Hollande is in a different category. And then, there is an accelerating security relationship. I mean, France is the country who's doing quite a bit of the quote-unquote dirty work in Africa right now, where other European countries are not going. So no, I mean, the U.S. and France have a lot to agree on right now.
One thing that was brought up in the press conference was the status of the transatlantic trade and investment agreement that they're trying to work out, essentially a free trade deal between the United States and Europe. What was said that they were going to kind of work on the deal and keep pushing it forward, but what was not said was how likely it was going to get done, at least in the near term. A lot of people are hoping sooner rather than later. What is the current status, and what do the two sides need to do? And I know there's the rest of Europe to deal with as well, but how can they get a little closer?
Well, I think we have to recognize that this is a tremendously complex deal, because it's not really free trade as we think about, lowering tariffs and things like that. It's really negotiating regulatory standards and these types of things, which is far more complex. So I think we should forget about the idea of having a short-term deal. I think the best we can realistically hope for is having this deal signed right at the end of the Obama administration, maybe in 2016, therefore. But at the same time, I think the French and the United States, even if it is the EU that's negotiating this, have a lot to talk about, because the French have a lot of, question marks or obstacles, if you like, concerning trade in audiovisual services, television, radio, movies, and these types of things, where traditionally they would like to basically protect French language content, which is, of course, something that the United States is quite opposed to. So the very fact that this issue, audiovisual service, is actually part of the negotiations at all, is actually, in my opinion, an indication of that you're dealing with a French left-wing president who's actually quite keen on free trade.
Is it odd that he seems fairly business-friendly, at least when you listen to him in the press conference? I mean, he was talking about things that you might not be expecting from someone from his party.
Yeah, I mean, he has recently, domestically in France, made a bit of a U-turn. Basically started talking about supply-side reforms, that he's going to stop raising taxes, he's going to cut government spending. So no, I mean, and he has talked about himself not as a socialist, but as a social democrat, which rhetorically in France signals that there is a far bigger sort of acceptance of the free market than was historically the case on the French left wing. So no, this is not quite the standard French socialist president.
France, whether it's fair or unfair, they're known for their high taxes, most recently the millionaire's tax, and the relationship between France and the U.S. is very tight. We're essentially one of the top trading partners for both countries. Is that going to impact that relationship, or is it just affect a small group of people?
No, I don't think it's going to have a major impact. I mean, I put that tax in the kind of category of symbolic politics. It's a tax that the French government implemented that's going to be in place for 2 years. It's going to affect a few thousand people in France. I think the bigger effect is going to be on potential entrepreneurs leaving France, but that's very difficult to measure. And it's, in any case, not something that's going to materially affect the U.S.-French relationships.
One thing that François Hollande and Barack Obama have in common is that they both have not high approval ratings in their hometown. And the irony is that they're meeting here in Washington. And I wonder if there's similarities between the two when they think about politics, and they think about stimulating the economy, creating jobs. Are they going to be talking about that at the dinner table?
I think there'll be that element, but I think we need to recognize that the French president is far more powerful than an American president in terms of his ability to dictate politics within France relative to Obama here in the United States. Even if Hollande has got lower approval ratings than, he's basically on par with Congress almost, so he has got a bigger task ahead of him in terms of reviving his political fortunes, but he's also got more tools at his disposal. He can do more things.
Jacob Kirkegaard, Senior Fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics.